Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're looking at Hand of Fate 2. This is a 2017 sequel to Hand of Fate 1, unsurprisingly there, with all the DLC installed, which unfortunately that is the case. Increasingly, when I get closer to 2017 and closer to present day, my computer hardware is not quite high enough that you can get into these ultra settings, although in many games ultra settings are also aspirational and not realistic as far as just what the settings do. So what Hand of Fate is I would say it's mostly a roguelike deck builder that adds in a genre breaking action segments in which you're fighting enemies, but the most of what you're doing in Hand of Fate 1 is you're pulling cards that are changing the variety of interactions. There's some decent audio options here. You can go to like 4-channel surrounds or quad, or surround sound, which would be 5-channel without a subwoofer, or surround 5.1 with a subwoofer, or 7.1. Or you could use ProLogic DTS, which at a level, I think ProLogic DTS can then be translated by an amplifier to be even higher. You could certainly use that information. Unfortunately, computer PC gaming has never really embraced anything higher than stereo, and console gaming really hasn't really embraced anything higher than stereo. People just don't really care about the audio aspects in most cases. We could turn off blood. I don't see a reason to do that, and the only real thing I've changed here is to turn on subtitles. Looks like there might be some color changes you could do here if you were having some visual accessibility issues, and for some reason you can configure Twitch. And that's as much as I know. It does kind of suck that there's looks to be about $12 to $13 of extra DLC if you exclude the sub soundtrack to this game, when at this point in 2024 the game should probably be cheaper than that. The default base game is still $30 when not on sale. I imagine you could get it on sale. So you're the hero and you're gonna run into this fortune teller. Now this looks really nice.
Your memories are fading even now, gone to form the soul of the game we play. These pieces are new, as are the stakes. Life, death, and vengeance. We must ride, for time is short, and you have much to learn. Make your first choice, and let us set these wheels in motion once more.
So this narrator guy is going to be your dealer character and narrate. And so they're asking me, do I want to play as a female or do I want to play as a male character? Which, interesting enough here, I guess, since both characters are supposed to be like Adam and Eve, naked characters, that does tempt me to play as a female character. Let's see where this goes. You can also see that the dealer here looks red and demonic or burnt in his face. Like, I remember almost nothing of Hand of Fate 1, but I do have a vague recollection that the dealer turns out to be your antagonist character, the main bad guy you have to defeat at the end. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we're not playing as the same character in the first game. Let's go with female character and see what that really does for us.
These cards represent your history and our game. We know where they end, for you are here. Therefore, these cards must guide you to my side. Let us see what the journey holds.
So we have a card called the Fool.
Steps into nothingness, because they know no better. In the same way, you must step into the void. You are a blank slate, and together we will write your history.
So the cards basically make the map and the path you must travel. Here in the lower left hand corner you can see you have 100 out of 100 life, you have 5 green apples, and you have 10 gold. And I guess we are probably trying to win those gold coins that are shining in the corner. And this is our first interaction because we moved the statue, which the statue is very far from the screen. And yes, I am looking at the TV from 8 feet away, so maybe if I was closer to my monitor I could tell better, but it does look like a generic male warrior statue. So I'm not sure what picking a female model would have done for me. It's probably more informative as a critic to always pick the female character in games, because if there are 2 choices, there's a decent chance that the female character is going to be less polished.
I am right here, and we have things to do.
So we stumbled many miles through the forest in search of the thieves who robbed you. Though exhausted and hungry, you're determined to reclaim your father's amulet. And that's the forest ambush. Now, I would have liked to see that voice acted, and I would have liked to see more voice acting and just everything being read out loud in the game, but if they paid a voice actor to read everything out in 2017, they probably would have taken that budget directly out of writers to make more encounters. You finally catch sight of the thieves hacking at a large tree and arguing among themselves. Move closer to eavesdrop or keep your distance are your 2 options here. And under that, we have a leader card and a 4 of greed, which this is some fictionalized tarot type cards, I guess. The Fool is a real tarot card. 4 of greed is not, and the leader is not. The king might be, is a real tarot card, or the Pope is a real tarot card. There would be multiple kings, 4 kings in the tarot deck of the minor arcana. I guess in a video game, boldness is probably favored, so we'll move closer to eavesdrop.
Every element of the game has been improved, even those that seem at first glance familiar. Do not worry, you will soon understand the nuances.
So that's a direct statement, I guess, towards the original game, which, in fairness, the original game, from what I vaguely remember, I remember very little. It's been a long time since I played it. It definitely didn't leave me wanting for more. In fact, there have been other games that are somewhat similar to this that have come out that I would have preferred to have played instead of playing Hand of Fate 1 again. But yeah, you have a 3 out of 4 chance here, as long as you don't hit failure as a card. So had you just randomly picked that, and I do think that was a fair pick, maybe it wasn't for the first tutorial game here, but had you failed, some other dialogue would have appeared. Creeping forward, you overhear their leader spouting orders. It's simple. The idiot walks down the road, you push over the tree and jump out. They'll be too scared to put up a fight and we'll get rich. Why don't we just jump out and stab them? One retorts. Another hooded figure chimes in. Yeah, corpses don't put up a fight either. Frustration rises in the leader's voice. The Empire doesn't care If a few farmers lose some sprouts but drop a corpse on the royal road, the place will be filled with soldiers before you've even spent the coin. We don't need that trouble. Now quiet, here they come. You soon spot a group of farmers coming around the corner bringing their wares to market. And so there's a 3 of Toil card that is now popping up, evolving the story. In a funny way, the way this game kind of plays, outside of the action sequences and the fighting, you would almost think it could just be a real-world card game. That there could be a random collection of events and a dungeon master like character would just go through those events as based on dice rolls and things like that. But Hand of Fate 1 and I imagine Hand of Fate 2 really optimize this by having nicely polished visuals, which admittedly a lot of these could just have been very polished up assets that would have started with some pre-made assets that they would have bought from an asset store like the Unity asset store, and then they would have polished it up to make it look nicer. But at this point everything does seem very bespoke and unique to this game, and you just wouldn't get that with a regular card game. Let's see. The thieves fell the tree into the path of the suspecting farmers and leap out, weapons brandish. Give us all your food. Do we leap to the farmer's defense? Do we offer the help to farmers, warning them it won't come for free? Or do we help the thieves with their extortion? And see, I don't feel like, since there's a single player nature of this game, it makes a lot of sense to be the bad guy. Like, you probably could play as the bad guy in many situations. I just think eventually there would be too high of a percentage of that backfiring on you, and I do think that you really are supposed to be the hero here. You could be a greedy hero, or we could be the leader, and I bet that is exactly what is coming about this, is that if you take this middle option, you're probably locking yourself into the path to win the 4 of Greed card, which may not help you in any way, because I don't know what these cards really can do. I don't think you're trying for a poker hand or anything like that with the cards. They probably have unique abilities or some kind of value you can sell them as. If you were to help the thieves, you might become the bad guy, leader of the thieves. If you leap to the farmer's defense, you might become the leader of the farmers. But yeah, my decision would definitely be to leap to the farmer's defense. Draw your weapon with practice skill. Well, you hear the leader's voice. You lads handle this. I'll meet you when you're done. It might also be that the leader is your actual opponent in this encounter, and he has a 4 of Greed card, and my 3 of Toil card might be weaker than his card. Oh, and now I remember what it does. 4 of Greed is going to have 4 enemies show up in the action section of this, and 3 of Toil is going to give me some 3-level weapon, I suspect. Maybe 3 level 3 farmers to fight on my side. Thug, violence for the sake of violence and theft for the sake of money. Thieves attack frequently and can evade standard attacks, making heavy weapons less effective. And see, this is the part that has this unique video game aspect that you couldn't do in the real world if you were just playing a card game. This would have to just be represented with a dice roll. That being said, it's probably worth mentioning that Baldur's Gate 3 has come out since this game. Many years after this game came out, and it's super popular. And Baldur's Gate 3 really is just based on Dungeons & Dragons dice rolls. Well, I think 100%. So, the mixture of action with a game that more generally would be based on random dice rolls is a little weird. You can also see that in the background they haven't put a massive amount of budget to polish the visuals of the trees in the background. Even by 2017 standards, they don't look amazingly good. All the thugs are animated in the exact same loop at the exact same time, which even if you just change that slightly so that one would be swinging their sword a second out of cycle with the rest of them, that would stand to improve things. And definitely the next step would be to just color swap the outfits, color swap the or just swap the clothing on the characters, swap the weapons on the characters. It all does still feel a little unpolished for the part that really they're trying to show off. Okay, so yeah, we'll have to remind myself how to control here. Let's see, finisher is left trigger, right trigger is weapon ability, left stick is moving, right stick is camera. That's pretty easy. Y is to defend or struggle, B is to bash, A is to evade, X is to attack. So we know so we're taking damage here in this process, and the area you can see is a very, very small area, and we can see that our character is female, although clothed in robes. None of the farmers died, which that might give us a bonus there, but we probably will never fight with those farmers again. But immediately on longer runs here, as the game evolves and we have to go through more event cards, we will need health and food to refill our health. And that's what the green apples, I imagine, are, now that I start to think about it and try and remember how this game is played. This definitely is a game that you probably would want to play right after playing Hand of Fate 1, or maybe just a month or two after playing Hand of Fate 1. It's not going to benefit you to take super long periods of time in between the two. And I don't, so far, see anything that feels like it has changed that much.
You make a poor apprentice. Cultivate focus.
This guy's going to just say something every few minutes when I sit here and don't do anything. Maybe we'll start to run into some new content later on, but so far this feels very much like the first game. Farmers fumble in their haversacks in gratitude. Thank you, adventure. I'm sure after they took our food, they would have taken our lives as well. So we get 7 food there, then another 5 food. You fall on the food with a sigh, shoveling bread in your mouth to quell your hunger. Your satisfaction lasts only a moment before you realize that the father's amulet is not among the takings. You consume 1 food. And in consuming 1 food, that gave me only 5 health. So I could consume another food and get to 98. Their leader must still have it. You set to your feet, determined to find him. So our goal here is to find the leader of the thieves and retrieve the amulet. And I think, at least for this episode, we'll want to play the entirety of this scenario. So here's our map. Yeah. And yeah, the little statue figurine here does just look to me like a male figurine, but it's ambiguous enough and I can't really move the camera angle. Right. So we have only one direction we can go, which is to the next card. And in that, we seem to consume 2 food just to walk. While enjoying a moment beside the fire, you spy a strange figure approaching your camp. It's a goblin dressed in what must pass in goblin finery. From beneath a filthy fox belt serving as an ill-fitting wig, the goblin winks at you with wild red eyes. Ah, I've been roaming for hours trying to find you. We must get this over with quickly if I have any hope of getting to all the people on my list before sunrise. It lowers the sack from its shoulders, and now within my sack I can conjure whatever your heart's desires. The goblin's voice trails off as he examines the sack. Well, I could, if there wasn't a blooming great big hole in it. His head disappears entirely into the back until his bulbous nose protrudes from the breach. A new plan, then. The goblin pulls out his last trinkets. So, we could get a new sword that I imagine would be stronger, a warrior's axe, or a shield. Let's go with the warrior's axe. Let's see. Can we compare it to what we have now, though? Or do we even have any equipment equipped at the moment? Or are we actually just using default equipment? Okay. So yeah, our currently equipped weapon is the neglected sword, so it would make a lot of sense to equip that. And apparently that was... I hit B there, but I'm not sure what I just did there. Seems like I didn't agree to take any of the items. No protection on the hood. 0 defense. So it gives you a stun bash. And that you can't unequip the hood. It does feel like this menu is different than what we had before. Let's see. So it says, a wise choice, now I must go. There are many others I must visit before I can rest. The goblin runs off into the night, his foxwood wig flapping in the evening breeze. You can change equipment in the inventory. So, again, I didn't equip it, but I do have it. Alright, good thing we equipped it. That being said, now we can't equip the shield. And there are rings and some kind of hand symbol. But small tweaks on the interface. I don't think I'd really call that major improvements compared to the first game. And not to say that there was anything really wrong with the first game. I kind of vaguely recall that maybe the game was a little bit stuttery in the fighting action sequences. It is very weird to have this kind of almost text-based game, even though it does have some nice visuals to it, then try and combine actual action hack and slash gameplay. And the action hack and slash gameplay always did feel a little rough and a little out of place. But honestly, the one thing you could do now in 2024 that you couldn't have done in 2017 is have a text-to-speech program that sounded really good and really like the narrator character, so that every single line could have been voiced easily and cheaply. And that's really what I would have preferred this game to do. I want to see every single part of this.
This card has a token. Can you find it?
Yeah, seems like every single piece of dialogue would be better if it was read aloud. So we're looking to collect tokens, I think, overall for the long game, and it does seem like you are eating at least one piece of fruit every time you move, and that is giving you plus 5 health, which does mean you probably should get into small fights and take a little bit of damage if you are going to take damage early in the game and not really worry about it. Otherwise, you are going to just have fruit going wasted somewhat. So, finding forest folk. You journey through a forest is interrupted by an inquisitive child. Are you searching for the forest folk? My uncle says they used to walk these woods giving out gifts. I want to find one and ask for a lemon cake. Well, it seems like we already ran into a forest folk character. As they dash off to peer under a nearby log, the child shouts back, remember, if you meet the forest folk, get me a lemon cake. In the other direction, an eerie song hangs in the air. You attempt to find its origin. So, 3 chances of success, 1 chance of failure. You follow the song through the thicket and stream until you find an open glade bathed in golden sunlight. You find an aged maiden, her posture bent like the boughs of a forest. The boughs of a forest? I don't know what that really means. Now, this does highlight a part that now that I think about it, I remember that it was kind of irritating in the first game, is that if you are doing this scenario and you're really only going to do this scenario once, and even if you tried to replay this scenario or just replay the game all together, there's no guarantee that the cards wouldn't just be random and different. You run into this problem where one bad dice roll and you will get the failure card.
I've waited 100 years for my revenge. It appears I must wait 100 more.
I wonder if that really implies that the events of the first game took place 100 years earlier. But yeah, if I hit the failure card, I probably can't get the token. I don't think the token really is that important, but it's pretty important, I'm pretty sure. It's been 12 winters since I had a visitor. Her voice is a whisper, yet it thunders in your ears. You may visit me when you are in need, adventurer.
This is yours now. Even if you lose the challenge, you have earned this token.
So, even if we failed the next encounter, we would probably take the 2 coins that are in the dish to the right of me, closer towards the screen, and we'd probably only lose the 1 coin that is further away. The question is, when can you spend coins, or do you just arbitrarily collect them?
Nothing could be more fitting now than meeting the mage who started this all, or at least started it all for you.
So this first encounter is almost certainly scripted. So we have the Royal Road. A trail of fallen trees and distraught farmers leads you to the thieves who had stolen your amulet. It seems their infighting had only gotten worse. The bandits surround the former leader, weapons drawn. And we have a 4 of greed here. I don't think we're going to have anything else to do other than fight. Everyone will get their fair share. There's no need for violence, the leader implores. Whoever heard of a thief talk about fair share spits one. You turn up and boss us around. We've barely stabbed anyone. It's been days since I stabbed someone. Days. I wonder if this leader is the mage, or if the mage is just going to appear somewhere else. The leader notices you approaching and waves you over. As much as I'd love to continue this discussion regarding stabbings, I'm afraid I have urgent business with my associate here. As he greets you, he whispers, "Keep me alive and there'll be plenty of gold for your trouble." So, do we want to get the amulet? Probably. Or just let him be killed. Seems like both of these choices are kind of the same outcome, that you're going to declare that you're going to attack him. But I guess the first one is the focus here, since it says find the leader of the thieves and retrieve your amulet. He holds up a finger. First rule of negotiation, never let them know what you want. Kill my associates and I'll gladly return your amulet. Ever reliable, the thieves draw their blades to mug you. The leader hurries away to hide. Give us your stuff or we'll stab you up, growls one of them. You consider your options. We could fight, or we could give them all our food and gold. I think the obvious choice here is we want to fight. You draw your weapon and prepare to deal with the miscreants. Thieves evade heavy weapons more frequently. You can change equipment in the inventory. Well, we got a heavy weapon, so we made it harder on ourselves. We made a bad choice there, but had we known that thieves evade heavy weapons, we would have gotten a sword instead. And almost certainly going forward, I will always pick a sword unless they're going to give me a bow and arrow. Right. We have a varied area. It is very button mashy. Like, it is going to be a lot of A to dash and X to attack. And I would say it doesn't feel like you can really avoid taking hits at the moment. Like, I tried to press A to dash a couple times there, and the game just did not react because I was pretty much just winding up to the next axe swing. So we can see at the bottom left, we're at 52 out of 100 health. We have 13 food, 10 gold. I think all of that just resets when a scenario is done. But you can see if this had been twice as long of an event, or if the enemies had been twice as difficult, I would have died. And I do think it is probably straight up, if you die, you're either going to have to start all over from the beginning, or it might just be full-on game over. I don't think it's full-on game over. With the battle resolved, the thief leader nods in approval at the carnage before him. He holds out a hand. The name is Malaclips. I'll go with that. Bard extraordinaire. His smile fades under your withering glare. Sensing your anger, he raises his hands in surrender. Wait, let's not be hasty. So he is depicted as a bard, and he is a bard. We're on the same side here. I am an upstanding citizen just like you. I've been working with the thieves, yes, but only for the greater good. No, really. They were killing people before I came along. I know it seems bad, but look. He pulls out an amulet from his pockets and presses it into your hand. All is forgiven, yes? You stare at the amulet. It does not look familiar. Oh, Malaclips says, scratching his head. He opens the small satchel. Which one is yours? Okay. So, this is interesting because I have no idea what I'm getting from picking specific symbols here, and it definitely feels like this is more Egyptian than tarot cards, which would be more, I guess, French inspired or early English, feudal times. I would bet the ox gives you more food. I would bet the lion probably gives you more strength. Maybe even gold. But then, could the eagle give you more perception? Or could the sphinx give you wisdom? Let's go with wisdom. Or just go with the sphinx in general. Let's see. The Sun King amulet. That suits you. Very similar facial structures. Say, you know what? I'm lonely. You're lonely. We should work together. You befriend Malaclips the trickster. Now it's funny they say very similar facial structures when I picked as a female model, so that may very well be fairly insulting compared to a pharaoh's head with the long beard that pharaohs have. Yeah. It is far too frequent that the idea of adding a female playable character is very much an afterthought in the development of games, and they just don't really consider or care that the experience might be different or worse in those cases. I'd also say in this case, you're not really getting much by having a female model in the fight sequences, only. We should probably get to know one another, seeing as we're going to be friends for life. Malaclips says, tell me, where are you from? So, I'm guessing, look how muscular her arms are for a model. That was not what I was expecting at all. So we're getting actual character customization where that wasn't in the first game. I don't know if it really needs to be in the game. Her turning around at 40 minutes into this game, this is surprising, but I also wouldn't be surprised if people barely even make it to this point because they just feel like it's the exact same experience. So if we go forest, she has darker skin. If we go crossroads, I guess is what that's supposed to be, she has lighter skin. If we go this direction with the Asian background, she has more Asian features or more yellow skin. And if we go here, it is more Middle Eastern skin, I would say. Or perhaps this is supposed to be the closest thing to white skin in the darkness of this section. I'd say this is the closest thing to white skin. Alright. how important is it to actually be able to see your character and make them stand out? Because if it is important, then you're strategically better to just go with crossroads. Let's see. And my concern here is if you go with Asian, none of the weapons are really gonna make sense. Your character is just gonna not really match that. You're not gonna all of a sudden get samurai swords and like ninja weapons. Let's try maybe this, and then we'll have to think about the head things. Weirdly, I guess there are multiple haircuts with multiple hair colors, so you're going up and down for the hair colors. Let's see what kind of haircuts. With the right stick it doesn't tell you this, but you can turn the head, which we really need that because it is going to be fairly similar. I wouldn't say these are particularly good haircuts. And it's like you have bald, you have a ponytail that sticks stiffly to the back, you have a ponytail that curves downward, you have a, I guess, less combed ponytail, and then you have no ponytail. And on the surface level, it is just always braided hair on top. Oh, this one is a longer hair. Like, and you can't even really see it, but the hair is going all the way down her back on that one. So super long hair. White. Let's go with that. And then let's see what happens if this changes. Oh, it seems like it literally is just changing the medallion on your chest. So we'll stick with what we've got. Now we could see if anybody perhaps looks more interesting with the different hairstyle. It seems to be pretty much the same still. So then the color palettes here, wouldn't be surprised if this is 100% just the outfits. Yeah, I would say this is a pretty dull outfit color. This is a little bit more interesting. The chest piece and armor stuff, though, they're pretty much telling you that it's not going to change much. So you can change the colors, but the actual outfit's not going to change much. I'm a little surprised you can't change the body shape in any way, and so you're really just changing skin color and barely changing hairstyles and hair color. I guess I'll go with this. And yeah, that's not really that much of customization for a 2017 game. Although in fairness, I'm not sure this game really needed any customization either. Seems like they've probably just added this for not a good reason. If anything, maybe you would have just left your game open for modding and then allowed other people to mod the characters while focusing the main aspects and the core gameplay mechanics and polishing on that element. From Sutherland A, so they're giving an actual name to the card I picked. They don't say good sorts from Sutherland, very trusting. Oh, by the way, I mean, we, friend. Oh, I mean we, friend, owe money to Vingus of the Thieves Guild. He's quite angry at us. We should journey to the Mire Bridge together to appease him. Some gold might help. Although, come to think of it, I'm rather busy. Malaclip's eyes your pretty trader hiking up a pretty trader hiking up the road. So it'd be best if you get the gold and I meet you there. So now we're just gonna follow this guy, Malaclips, for a while. And weirdly, we kind of finished that section, and I would have thought that that would have been the end of it. That we would have gotten the coin that is closer to the dealer, and we would have gotten our health refilled. But it seems like the story goes on, which that certainly changes things if now the game, or if the game always worked this way, and I'm just confused. But yeah, definitely would change things if you could never regain your health in between sections, and you are just from the beginning of the game all the way to the end, starting with like 5 health, 100 health, 5 fruit, and 10 coins. That might make a little bit more of the rogue-like experience. That might make it more appealing to play this game a second time, but I don't know if I really think anybody really would want to play this a second time. So I think this is a good spot to end this episode. So far, this very much feels like slight improvements to Hand of Fate 1. I wouldn't be surprised if this game was kind of rushed out due to the very positive reception and good press coverage that Hand of Fate 1 got. And arguably, between 2017 and 2024, they haven't announced a Hand of Fate 3. And I imagine if they were going to do that, they probably would need to make something that was a lot more polished by modern standards. Although you do kind of pigeonhole yourself into the name Hand of Fate, that it has to be card based, and I think that leaves you only so much as far as what you can improve upon. Although, yeah, and I guess that's where Baldur's Gate 3 really works better, is that you have much more visuals and a much wider Dungeons and Dragons gameplay mechanic system in Baldur's Gate 3 that doesn't limit you to a lot of text and a lot of card-based metaphors. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, and keep on watching. Thanks.